This is Jamie with Bar. In this video, we're going to be looking at three key ways that Bar's Speed Count Pro system differs from most self-service inventory systems. And as always, the only thing that really matters is how it helps you run a more profitable business. We're going to be using an example here of a client that was previously using Restaurant 365 in a self-service way. They run 13 stores, and over the first year, they've piloted Bar at 3 of their stores and added that Bar system on top of Restaurant 365. What they found, and this is out the words of their COO, was that they've seen a 2 to 3 full percentage point reduction across the stores using Bar. So let's look at the reasons and some of the things that cause that improved performance. This is our trade show handout that highlights three important differences with Bar, which are our down to the serving approach, pairing your managers with a experienced inventory coach or account manager, and having a dedicated error resolution process. So most importantly, with our pro version reports, we always compare what you sold at your bar down to the serving and compare it to what was poured in real life, down to the tenth of an ounce. And by comparing the two, we can precisely measure and monitor shrinkage. Um, on that note of down to the serving, an important point of differentiation between ourselves and some self-service systems is our use of hardware combined with independent verification. So Bar counters are using barcodes to identify individual items, which stops you getting confused between a 750 and a liter bottle, or a wheated and peated whiskey, or the bullet bourbon and rye, which just have different color labels. The Bluetooth scales allow us to measure what's in a bottle down to the tenth of an ounce. So it's not too important in your Tito's because you probably serve hundreds of Tito's over the course of a week. When you look at some high-end things, maybe a high-end Scotch, for instance, seeing that difference is very valuable, as we'll see here in an example. On average, we see Bar Speed Count Pro users increase their profits by 30% by reducing their overall liquor cost by around 3 full percentage points. On the coaching side, respectfully, your managers are great at running their bars and restaurants. They are not experts in using bar inventory software. And so the idea of having a coach is during the setup, and as long as you need it during your regular counts, your manager will work directly with a bar account manager who will independently verify the results, take charge of the time-consuming pieces like entering invoices, integrating with the point of sale, updating the recipes. And the idea is we spend less of your manager time producing the results and more time running a staff meeting, doing pouring practice, or other activities we know that actually increase performance. And then the third important point of differentiation with Bar is having a dedicated process for resolving or diagnosing, resolving, and learning from errors. So each time your manager submits a count, the Bar account manager identifies a hit list of normally 10-ish items where there's a difference in what you sold and poured. Those are presented through the software back to the manager, who then has the opportunity to investigate if they're due to point of sale anomalies, missing buttons, miscounts, inventory or invoicing exceptions, whatever the cause may be. And when they respond, the results are then updated accordingly. So we have this feedback loop where the manager is having someone guide them through investigating particular items and giving them feedback. Let's take a look here. This is a client said that was using Restaurant 365 for 5 years and then reported that their liquor cost is now 3 percentage points lower since they've started using Bar. So overall, they did a very handy 97%. They're only missing 3% of what they poured. On Sky, it was a little lower at 92%. There's a high complexity, but these guys are just missing 60 servings out of 800, which is a great result. If you look at the detailed product viewer here, we can see that they should have, based on previous amount invoiced and amount sold, they should have had 69, basically 70 bottles, but they only had basically 67. On that breakdown, we can see the benefit of the detail here. So it's complicated at this bar. They've got Sky in liters, handles, and they batch it into a delicious pineapple infused martini they do. So for instance, if you count 14-liter bottles here, it's 14 liters. If you count 6 handles, you have to convert that into liters before you can add it together. So you get the line-by-line detail confirming the count of 66.93. On the sales side of things, you also can see the complexity here, where they've got 12 buttons that call for Sky. We know the exact amount that everything was pressed, what the recipe size was. So in the simple case, a double 13 3-ounce doubles is 39 ounces, which is 1.15 bottles. Or in a complicated case here where they've got an infusion, an infused product, they serve 4.5 ounces of the infused product, and it can figure out exactly how much of that was Sky, in this case 100%. If it's a margarita or something, the tequila will be a certain percentage of the overall product or product poured, depending on the proportions there. This detail is important to be able to really dig in and understand, see how we've calculated sales of 36 liters. Going down smaller scale here, here's a high-end Scotch Dalmore 12-year. And in this cycle, they served or sold one serving, 1.5 ounce serving, but unfortunately they poured 1.4 servings. So in a normal situation, if you're not using scales, you'd think, oh, well, someone mismeasured that. In this instance, we can see the starting count here. One of the bottles weighed 33.7 ounces on the 5th. The following week, it weighed 31 ounces. So we know with confidence that they served basically a 2-ounce pour, which is why we're seeing that variation of selling one serving but pouring almost 1.5. This particular bar, you can see here, over the last 15 cycles, very stable, apart from the blip, a good blip with higher sales over Halloween. They typically do around $25,000 a week in sales. But let's look here. This is my favorite graph in our software that relates the accountability score here in this line to the losses on the bar graph. So you can see there's a period here where the numbers were typically in the range of like 93 and losses maybe in the range of 400 a week. During a better period here, they've seen an average score maybe 96, 97, and midline of losses during this period is probably more like $200. So they've managed to halve losses. If you look here in October, on a week they scored 97. We can see that the loss is about 200. And then when the number jumps on 2 weeks to 93 and 94, the losses jump up significantly. And then when they correct the score at 97, again, the losses go down. So it just allows you to be a lot more active in your management because your managers work with a bar account manager. It doesn't take extra time on your behalf, but you get much more detailed, accurate results. The results are provided along with a 5-minute video report after each week's count. And also you've got an expert, an independent account manager to ask questions to. And all of those things combined result typically in liquor cost being, in this case, 3 percentage points lower. Obviously, 3 percentage points of $25,000 in weekly sales is a saving of $750. So whichever way you cut and dice it, it's real money, and the additional cost of having an account manager, if you're doing solid sales, is more than justified in terms of higher performance. As always, thanks for watching.